Parmesan pig. Every creature on earth has the very same goal, thoughts full of joy and a satisfied soul. The result is a feeling that is hard to explain. You feel it within. We should give it a name. Let's call it happy. You may have heard it before, but it's not very simple. There's a lot to explore. Some feel it all over and a lot of the time. Others feel it is missing or a mountain to climb. But for those that need hope, there is nothing as big as the heart of our friend, meet Parmesan pig. Getting better each year, never bitter, just sweet. With wonderful ingredients, she is delicious to meet. Finding more than just food with the use of her snout, she can smell when she's needed to fix a friend's pout. Let us look at the times other needed to hear it. She helped them with happy and lifted their spirits. Her dearest of friends, Parmesan pig's favorite dish, was spaghetti spider, who had all you could wish. He got what he wanted and could fill a whole plate. There was plenty of everything, even legs. He had 8. He measured his happy by counting his toys. The latest and greatest was a plane that made noise. But then something changed with new games from the store. He was no longer fulfilled. What he wanted was more. Parmesan pig could sense it. Her snout always knew when a friend was in need of a new point of view. She untangled his web and offered advice. Love what you have and you won't need it twice. Do not feel the need to judge or compare. You want to be happy? Take one toy and share. She was a friend he could trust, so Spaghetti Spider believed this new way to be happy was a web he could weave. A couple weeks later, another uplifting tale, a slice of support when feelings were frail. It had been a whole day since Marshmallow Mouse felt happy enough to leave her own house. Parmesan pig was mindful and noticed this trend, so she went over to check on her littlest friend. For Marshmallow Mouse, it was hard to explain. She was unsure of herself. Am I just plain sugar cane? Her mind wandered and worried. She did not feel content. Luckily, Parmesan pig could pick up the scent. Parmesan pig offered comfort, a lot more than most did. She made a space that was safe where no one felt roasted. She said, "You are special. I will help you see how. You are not just the thoughts you are having right now. Let's scurry outside. We can go for a walk. Breathe in the fresh air and continue to talk." Using positive words and important life skill, they made plans for the future as they walked up a hill. For Marshmallow Mouse, who was stuck in a trap, Parmesan pig was the friend who was there in a snap. This next story is different. It's about moving forward, helping her friend Taco Turtle, whom she really adored. He was usually happy and not one to frown, but life is not fair. It can flip upside down. Some recent events for Taco Turtle were hard. He had to work through it, so Parmesan pig wrote him a card. I care so much about how you feel. I am here and will listen while you let your heart heal. You are not feeling happy. It doesn't feel there at all. But while you feel sad, please keep your head tall. Soon wiggle your tail, let it out of the shell, and when you are ready, ring your own bell. Then flip and roll over, and no matter how slow, start moving forward wherever you go. As time will go on, believe what I say. You may find that happy will find you on the way. Your friend, Parmesan pig. This card that she wrote to her friend Taco Turtle added just the right spice to help him over the hurdle. He could see that with feelings it is a matter of when. Today was a hard one, but he will find happy again. Parmesan pig knows that happy can be something we chase, but if you catch it just right, it is hard to erase. These next friends of hers love life for the sake of it. In all situations, you get what you make of it. There is Celery Swan, who cannot carry a tune, yet sings in the pond from morning till noon. Or for those that feel stressed like Watermelon Whale, she has learned to take breaks. You should see her exhale. Some friends often feel sick, like Sir Pepper Leopard, yet he finds joy in his life. His strength should be treasured. And last but not least is Pineapple Parrot, who knows only one word but is happy to share it. Happiness is a mystery. It can be a bit strange. It comes and it goes. There is quite a range. When seeking out happy to improve your chance, eat healthy foods, exercise, even dance. Whatever you are, let it all out. Be around others who don't make you doubt. And don't be afraid to let out a snort, like Parmesan pig, roll out your support. We want for our loved ones, every neighbor and friend, to be blessed with happy without any pretend. Parmesan pig always knows, with the right frame of mind, she will mostly feel happy a big chunk of the time. The end. The zebra that is a bat. 𝗬𝗎 was a zebra unlike any other. While all the others stood in their herd, munching on the grass, 𝗬𝗎 loved nothing more than wearing his big black cape and pretending to be a bat. He squeaked like a bat and flapped his wings like a bat. He even hung upside down like a bat. In fact, he spent so much time in his bat cape, he sometimes forgot he was a zebra. His parents thought it was odd, and his friend thought it was a bit funny, but as long as 𝗬𝗎 was happy, they didn't mind at all. But one day when the zebras were munching and 𝗬𝗎 was hanging in his tree, a new zebra arrived in the herd. He took one look at 𝗬𝗎 and loudly asked, "What's wrong with you? You're not a bat. Why are you acting so weird?" No one had ever said that to 𝗬𝗎 before. Was there something wrong with him? He got down from the tree and looked into the watering hole. His face reflected back at him. It was true. He wasn't a bat. He was a zebra, just like everyone else. That night, when he tried to hang upside down to sleep, the branches broke and 𝗬𝗎 fell to the ground with a crash. Maybe the new zebra was right. Maybe he should start acting like the others. For the first time in what felt like forever, 𝗬𝗎 took off his bat cape. At first, things were going well. 𝗬𝗎 started to copy his friends, doing all the normal zebra-ish things they did. He walked like a zebra, spoke like a zebra, and slept on the ground just like a zebra. "You're so grown up now," his parents said. "Isn't it better to be normal like everyone else?" But 𝗬𝗎 didn't think so. No matter how much he tried to act normal, he still felt like a part of him was missing. 𝗬𝗎's friend noticed that he wasn't feeling happy. He missed all the fun he used to have with his friend. "𝗬𝗎," his friend said, "I don't care what you are, zebra or bat. You are brave, you are kind, and you are my friend because you are you." His friend was right. 𝗬𝗎 knew what he had to do. The next day, as soon as he woke up, he put his bat cape back on. The new zebra saw him and called out, "Looks like 𝗬𝗎 the bat is acting weird again." But 𝗬𝗎 was ready. He knew just what to say. "I like wearing my cape," he said. "If you don't like it, you don't have to wear it." The new zebra was shocked. No one had ever spoken to him like that. He paused for a second and then he asked 𝗬𝗎 a question. "Can I try it on just once?" 𝗬𝗎 couldn't believe it. He took off his cape and threw it over his new friend. Together they squeaked and flapped their wings, and thanks to 𝗬𝗎's dad fixing the tree branches, they even hung upside down for the rest of the day. "That was so much fun," said 𝗬𝗎's new friend. "I can't wait to get a cape of my own." When 𝗬𝗎 waved goodbye to his new friend, his parents came up behind him and in their very own bat capes, they gave him a great big hug. "As long as you're happy, you can be anything you want to be. We love you, 𝗬𝗎. The end. Cosmo faces the forest of fear. Once upon a time, a family let a special golden puppy named Cosmo into their home and into their hearts. This is where the story starts. It soon came as a shock for the family of four that raising a young pup could be such a chore. For the first few months, the floor was covered with pee and the little guy destroyed everything he could see. He bit and pulled and ate his own poo. The troubles of raising a puppy, it seemed, were true. After many long nights, the thought came to give him away, but the idea was dismissed at the children's dismay. And within no time, things became good and right. The golden puppy learned to lick instead of bite. From 4 to 5 the family became. They loved him dearly and he felt the same. Now Cosmo was nearing the age of 1 and the family was going on a vacation for fun. To the grand forest mountains up in the north, with Cosmo's tail wagging, the family set forth. They hadn't been on vacation for long when Cosmo felt that something was wrong. His wagging tail slowed to a stop. He looked around nervously and felt his stomach drop. The tall hills for the family looked fun and cheery, but the golden pup could sense that something was eerie. For every scent of the forest smelled like fear, and the silence of the trees seemed all too queer. Ruff, ruff! Cosmo tried to warn his family with a panicked bark, but they couldn't understand the anxiety in his talk. They lay down to sleep in their tent, peaceful at mind, while Cosmo guarded the opening, feeling resigned. The night passed uneventfully to Cosmo's relief. He had jumped to the sound of every moving leaf. He hadn't yet found any reason to fright, but he still knew deep down that something wasn't right. The family set out in the morning to hike. Cosmo stayed alert, ready for something to strike. The last place he wanted to go was into the forest of trees, but there was nothing he could do to express his unease. Everyone seemed carefree and happy except for the golden one. Dad took pictures of Mom, and they watched the kids skip and run. Cosmo ran along at their heels, only stopping for treats. Even in his time of stress, he would not refuse his sweets. It was after lunch when the family realized a terrible fact. The girl was nowhere to be seen, not even a track. The parents screamed in terror and called for help. Cosmo made his decision and ran off with a yelp. Cosmo heard his mother shouting his name, but he knew he must find Sis or live in shame. He could sense that a terrible thing lived in the trees and that given a chance, his sister would be seized. As he ran into the forest, a crow croaked from the canopy of trees as if trying to warn. Cosmo's fear for the forest and love for his sister made him feel torn. But no, his mind was made. He would battle his fright. For his sister he would do anything, not run, but fight. Cosmo was going on his way, sniffing here and there, when out of the bushes flew a creature, giving him a scare. Cosmo barked and got ready to charge, but it was just a skunk, nothing scary or large. A skunk! He turned to flee, but the damage was done. He had been hit with a stink, and there was nowhere to run. The smell was worse than the fishy cat that lived on his street. He knew to remove the odor would be quite the feat. Skunk looked at Cosmo with an apology in his eyes, for he had not meant to spray, but he had been caught by surprise. The golden was quick to forgive, and his tail began to sway. He loved to make new friends, and he always loved to play. But he remembered his mission, so he turned to his new friend and asked about the fearsome forest so that he could learn to fend. Skunk's eyes suddenly filled with fear, and all the light from the forest seemed to disappear. In a hushed voice, Skunk told Cosmo about the forest fright, a creature big and scary and not afraid to bite. Every animal in the forest feared the terrible beast, wondering and worrying when they would be his next feast. A feline, Skunk finally revealed, ruled those high-up peaks, stalking every creature and pouncing on whom he seeks. His eyes, Skunk said, shine like blazing pits. His pointy teeth and jaws of death could bite anything to bits. Having thanked his new friend, Cosmo resumed his journey ahead. Rather than feeling more frightened, he felt surprisingly relieved instead. The monster of the forest, it turned out, was a cat. Cosmo now knew it was just another pesky brat. However, Cosmo's relief quickly disappeared as he came across a scary sight. Some of the cat's last meal was scattered near a tree, having lost a terrible fight. Cosmo's heart once again pounded against his chest from fear, and from deep within the trees the beast watched with a leer. A shrill screech suddenly pierced through the air. Cosmo knew he was going deeper and deeper into the big cat's lair. His eyes scanned the woods for a sign of Sis, and he sniffed all around so there was nothing he would miss. And suddenly, with a cry of relief, the girl ran from the trees. Cosmo let out a bark of joy as his sister gave him a squeeze. He licked the tears from her cheeks and his tail went wild. She hugged him, scrunched her nose at his stink, and finally smiled. After the sweet reunion, they started walking back to camp. Sis smiled down at Cosmo, and he felt like a champ. He smiled back up at her as they went on their way, clueless that the feline was secretly hunting his prey. The big cat knew about Cosmo's trip through the trees, and he knew how to defeat the golden with ease. A treat, he thought, is all it will take to make a trustful friend, and once the dog's guard is down, that will be the end. With this thought, the feline readied his attack. He could hardly wait any longer to enjoy his tasty snack, so he watched intently from above in his place for the perfect time to begin his chase. Suddenly, Cosmo heard a branch snap. He wondered if he was leading them into the villain's trap. He stepped in front of Sis and gave a low growl. The silence of the trees made him sense something foul. With one graceful leap, the beast was on the floor. The girl let out a squeak of horror, and Cosmo let out a roar. His body was tense, and his head was up high. He knew he had to pay attention, or this would be goodbye. The big cat stepped forward, a smile on his face. He pushed a treat toward the golden and back to give him some space. Cosmo looked at the snack, his mouth starting to drool. Was this a peace offering or a clever way to fool? The smell of the treat began to draw Cosmo near. He almost gave in, but then he saw his sister shaking with fear. Cosmo snapped out of his greedy daze in a flash. He knew that for the very first time he would simply have to pass. Cosmo shoved the offering away with a swipe of his paw. In the cat's master plan, rejection of the treat was a flaw. The beast's eyes flashed with anger and his teeth gleamed. Cosmo's mind worked fast for an idea as his sister screamed. The monster leapt, his jaws open and ready to eat the two, so Cosmo made a decision and did what he had to do. He lifted his leg, took aim, and let the pea fly. The villain got hit straight in the eyes and let out a cry. As the feline streaked and staggered, his eyes red, Cosmo courageously charged at him with his head. He then used his big paws to give the cat a push. The feline lost his balance and fell on his tush. The big cat tried to get up and fight back, but his eyes burned, and the smelly skunk stink hit him with a smack. Before he could even see, he heard a loud shout, and before he had the chance to flee, he was captured by the park scout. Now the feline was hissing at everyone, obviously enraged. Cosmo let out a victory bark when he saw the villain caged. Mom, Dad, and Bro rushed to him and Sis with tears. They hugged and kissed them both and honored Cosmo with 3 cheers. Cosmo became the hero of the day for Sis and Skunk. He became well known throughout the forest for his wit and spunk. The hills thereafter became warm, friendly, and nice, and the feline ended in the zoo where all he has are mice. The end. The Naughty Sheep. I toss and turn, I cannot sleep. I close my eyes and count some sheep. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. With tutu and ballet shoes too, the 4th sheep makes her way through. A skip, a leap, a jump and prance. Soon comes a hop and then a dance. Pirouette she does instead before she bows and moves ahead. No time to wonder what was that. The sheep is now an acrobat. First cartwheels and a somersault, a split and then a sudden halt. Hey sheep, you really must admit I'm not yet sleepy. Not one bit. The sheep pulls out a clarinet, not knowing if I'll laugh or fret. I start to hear a piercing squeak. It's very shrill, just like a shriek. Hey sheep, you're such a loud musician. Maybe find another mission. The sheep holds plates on one thin stick. Is this a circus? What a trick. The sheep sticks out its tongue that's blue. She winks and gestures peekaboo. Why can't you act like normal sheep? I really need to sleep. She's gone away, she heard my calls, but now she's back and juggling balls. You naughty sheep, I'm still awake. Did candy make you wild or cake? That sheep is singing karaoke, noisy and extremely croaky. Sheep, there's something else to try. Hey, how about a lullaby? I'm oh so tired, that sheep can tell. She calls the others with a bell. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. My new friend yawns and so do I. Then finally she waves goodbye. But wait, before you have to go, there's something that I want to know. How do sheep go to sleep? Do they count other sheep? The end. Jake the ape makes a lot of mistakes. Jake woke up and stretched. Today was going to be a good day. He could feel it. Jake quickly pulled on his pants and buttoned up his shirt. He was ready to go. As he passed the mirror, he saw that his shirt was crooked. He had missed some buttons and put others in the wrong places. Jake unbuttoned his shirt, then slowly and carefully, he rebuttoned it. This time he didn't forget any buttons. That's better, he thought, looking at his reflection in the mirror. In the kitchen, Jake tried to put jam on his toast, but there was too much jam on the knife. Jake watched as the sticky jam slid off his knife and landed on the table. Yuck. Jake got a cloth and cleaned up his mess. Then he tried again. This time he was more careful about how much jam he used. "Now that looks good enough to eat," Jake said, gobbling up his breakfast. On his way to school, Jake saw his friends Tommy the Tiger and Freddy the Fox. They were playing catch. Jake wanted to play too, but he threw the ball too hard. It went right over Tommy's head. "It's okay, I'll get it," Jake said as he ran and picked up the ball. Jake tried again, but his throw was still too hard. He threw it once more, softer this time. The ball didn't even reach Tommy. "Maybe I just won't try to play catch anymore," Jake thought, frustrated. But Freddy and Tommy were having so much fun. "Can you teach me how to throw it?" asked Jake. Jake watched carefully as Freddy and Tommy showed him how to throw the ball. Then Jake threw the ball one more time. This time Tommy caught it. "Thank you for your help," said Jake happily as the friends hurried to school. In class, Mrs. Mouse was teaching math. She asked Jake to come up and answer the math problem. "Oh no," thought Jake. "What if I get the answer wrong?" Jake didn't want the other students to see him use his counting blocks, so he tried to do the math problem without them. "That's not quite right," said Mrs. Mouse. "Why don't you try again?" Jake's heart was beating fast, but he stopped, took a deep breath, and tried again. This time he used his blocks to check his answer. When he was sure he knew the answer, he wrote it on the board. "That's right," said Mrs. Mouse. Jake smiled. At lunch, Jake bumped right into Susie Sloth, making her spill her drink. Freddy and Tommy looked embarrassed. Jake smiled at Susie. "I'm sorry, Susie," he said. "I didn't mean to bump into you. I'll get you a new drink." Jake got Susie a new drink and helped her clean up the mess. "Thanks, Jake," Susie said, smiling. "I know you didn't do it on purpose." Jake was glad Susie wasn't mad at him. After lunch, the boys were walking to class when Jake realized he needed to use the bathroom. He tried to hurry, but he got distracted by the pictures on the walls. "Oh no," Jake thought, "not another mistake." Jake asked Tommy to get him some clean pants. As he cleaned up, Jake thought, "It feels like I can't do anything right today." That afternoon at home, Jake's mom asked if he had any homework. Jake thought about the assignment Mrs. Mouse had given them. It looked really hard, and he didn't want to make any more mistakes. "Nope, no homework," he told his mom. Jake's mom looked surprised, which made him feel bad. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said. "I do have homework, but it looks hard. Can you please help me?" Jake and his mom worked on the homework together. It was hard at first, but Jake kept trying and asked questions when he didn't understand. When his homework was done, Jake hugged his mom and thanked her for her help. That night at bedtime, Jake's dad came in to tuck him in. "How was your day today?" he asked. Jake started to cry. "It was a terrible day. I made so many mistakes, and now I'm worried about making even more mistakes tomorrow." Jake's dad gave him a big hug and said softly, "I'm glad you made mistakes today." Sniffling, Jake looked up. "Really? Why?" he asked. "Because that's how we learn," his dad said. "Can you tell me what you learned today?" Jake thought back to his day. He thought about his trouble buttoning his shirt and the jam that fell on the table. He remembered how good he felt when he threw a ball the right way and how excited he felt to play catch with his friends again tomorrow. He thought about all the other mistakes he made that day, but this time he didn't feel sad or embarrassed. "I learned to button my shirt, put jam on my bread, throw a ball, do a math problem, try again when I can't do something right the first time, admit when I make a mistake, ask for help when I need it, and apologize when I do something wrong," Jake said. His dad smiled at Jake and hugged him again. "It sounds like you had a pretty good day after all." "I did," said Jake. "You know what? I hope I make a lot of mistakes tomorrow too." The end. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out the links in the description box. I'll see you in the next story time.